So good morning students. In the previous video we had seen about the LED structures. Now in this video we will be seeing about the LED configurations. So the LED configurations, there are mainly two main types of LEDs. One is surface emitting LED and the other one is going to be your edge emitting LEDs. So both these devices are going to use a double heterojunction structure there. So where it is going to confine the carriers and the light is going to be confined only in the active region there. So surface emitting LEDs, it is going to be the plane of the active light emitting region is going to be oriented perpendicular to the axis of the fiber there. So in this case we are going to have the double heterojunction diode is going to be grown on an N-type substrate there. So in this N-type substrate we are going to etch a circular well through the substrate of the device. So here the fiber is going to be connected in this circular well and so that the emitted light can be passed efficiently into the fiber there. So here we are going to have a gold heat sink. Over the gold heat sink we are going to have a metal contact, and over the metal contact we are going to have a silicon dioxide isolation there. So here on this silicon dioxide isolation we are going to have the double heterodyne structure there, where we are going to have the two different types of materials. One is a P-type material and the N-type material on either side of your active region there. So here we are going to have your active region to be present, where it is going to be a circular active region there. And on this N-type substrate, over this substrate I am going to have this N-type substrate there, and above the substrate a metal contact is going to be present. In this substrate we are going to etch a circular well and the fiber is going to be inserted. So the fiber is going to be inserted in such a way that the axis of the fiber is going to be perpendicular to the plane of the light there. So in this case we can see that light emitted in this active region can be efficiently coupled into the fiber. So this fiber is going to be attached to the substrate through your epoxy resin bonding material. So here we say that the current flow is going to be through the P-type material there, and it is going to form the small circular active region there, where we can have the beam light to be more. That is, the recombination is going to be more. As a result, the intense beam of the light is also going to be more. So the diameter of the circular active area is going to be around 50 micrometer. Thickness of the circular active area is going to be 2.5 micrometer, and the current density is going to be around 2000 amperes per centimeter square. So the emission power pattern is going to be isotropic, and it is going to have 120-degree beam width. So we say that the isotropic emission pattern from the surface emitting LEDs is going to be of the Lombardian pattern there. So here in the Lombardian pattern you can say that the emitting surface is going to be uniformly bright. So when the emitting surface is going to be uniformly bright, but when it is going to be a projected one, the projected emission is going to take the is going to diminish as cos theta there, where theta is nothing but the angle between the viewing direction and the normal to the surface. So this is a normal to the surface and this is a viewing direction there. So in this case theta is going to be the angle between the viewing direction and normal to the surface there. So the beam intensity is going to be maximum along the normal. So here the power is going to be reduced. So this is your beam intensity is maximum along the normal there, and the power is going to be reduced at to 50% of its peak when theta value is going to be 60 degrees. So therefore total half power beam width is going to be 120 degrees. So the radiation pattern is going to decide the coupling efficiency of your LED. So here in this case the radiation pattern is going to decide the coupling efficiency of your LED. So this is about your surface emitting LED. Next we are going to go for edge emitting LEDs. So in your edge emitting LEDs, why we go for edge emitting LEDs is to reduce the losses that is going to be caused by the absorption in the active layer, and to make your beam to be more directional we go for your edge emitting LEDs. That means that your light is going to be collected from the edge of the LEDs there. So such devices are going to be called as your edge emitting LEDs or ELEDs there. So here in this case it is going to consist of an active region which is going to be a source of incoherent light, and the two guiding layers are going to have there. So the refractive index of the guiding layers is going to be lower than the refractive index of the active region there. So here, but it is going to be high compared to the surrounding material there. So the waveguide channel is going to be formed and the optical radiation is going to be directed into the fiber. So you can see that this is your heat sink, this is your metallization for your electrical contact, and this is going to be the n-type substrate there, and these are your light guiding layers or the confinement region, the double heterojunction structure, and this is going to be the active region there. So here in this case your light is going to be emitted, and this is your silicon dioxide isolation layer, and this is your metallization for electric contact. So here in this case we are going to have the contact to be a stripe contact there. So when the light is going to be emitted from the edge of the LEDs. So when the light is going to be emitted from the edge of the LEDs, the light is going to be highly directional there. So here in this case we have an incoherent optical beam width. So here we can say that this regions, your light guiding layers are going to have a lower refractive index compared to the active region layer there. So your active region is going to have a higher refractive index compared to this, but this guiding layers is going to have higher refractive index compared to the surrounding material there. So when this refractive index combination is going to be present only, we can see that the light is going to be a highly directional one. So here your edge emission pattern is going to be more concentrated, and it is going to be improving the coupling capacity there. So here in this case the beam is going to be a Lombardian one in the plane that is going to be parallel to the junction, but it is going to diverge out when it is going to move slowly in the plane perpendicular to the junction there. So in this plane a beam divergence should be limited. So here in the parallel plane, when there is going to be no beam confinement and the radiation is going to be Lombardian there. So to maximize the useful output power, what we are going to do is we can place a reflector at the end of the diode that is going to be opposite to the emitting edge. So features of the edge emitting light LEDs are going to be your linear relationship is going to exist between your optical output and current. The spectral width is going to be from 25 to 400 nanometers, when the wavelength is going to be from 0.8 to 0.9 micrometers there, and the modulation bandwidth is going to be much larger, and it is not going to be affected by the catastrophic gradation mechanisms, which are going to be more reliable there. So edge emitting LEDs are going to have better coupling efficiency than the surface emitting LEDs there. So on this edge emitting LEDs are going to be temperature sensitive. So where we can find the usage of this edge emitting LEDs are, it is for short range narrow and medium bandwidth links we can use this edge emitting LEDs. And this edge emitting LEDs is going to be suitable for digital systems up to 140 megabits per second. And it can be used for long distance analog links. Next is we are going to see what are the different types of light source materials can be used for the luminescence purpose. So here in this, the spontaneous emission is going to be the carrier recombination, and it is going to be called as your electroluminescence there. So here there is your SLEDs. So here in this case, to encourage this electroluminescence, we should select a proper semiconductor material there. So the semiconductor is going to depend on the energy bandgap that can be categorized as your direct bandgap semiconductors and indirect bandgap semiconductors there. So in a semiconductor material, when it is going to be used for the active layer of an optical source, it should have direct bandgap semiconductors there. So if I am going to use an indirect bandgap semiconductors, the electrons and holes can recombine directly across the bandgap, but without the need of any third particle to conserve the momentum there. In direct bandgap, I need not require any third particle there. In direct bandgap material, we are going to have the radiative recombination to take place, and it is going to be high enough to produce the adequate level of your optical emission there. So here the materials that can be used for doping can be either your group 3 elements or it can be your group 5 elements there. So the tertiary alloys what we are going to use is gallium, aluminium, arsenide. So gallium L-X, aluminium X and arsenide are going to be used. So depending upon the combination of this X and L, we can see that the tertiary alloys can be formed. So tertiary is 3 alloys we are going to mix and form the semiconductor material. In this alloy we can have a direct recombination is possible, and the recombination can occur from 10 power minus 8 to 10 power minus 10 seconds. So when I want the LED to operate at 800 to 900 nanometer spectrum, the material that we are going to use is a ternary alloy, that is gallium L-X, aluminium X and arsenide. This is the combination what we are going to use. So the ratio of the X2 of aluminium arsenide to the gallium arsenide is going to determine the band gap of the alloy there. So here in this case it is going to determine the wavelength of the peak emitted radiation. So if I want for longer wavelengths, I have to go for a quaternary alloy. So the alloy is going to be an indium gallium arsenide phosphide. So here the alloys gallium aluminium arsenide and indium gallium arsenide phosphide are going to be used as semiconductor light sources, so that it can match the lattice parameters of the heterostructure interfaces there. So by proper combination of the binary, ternary and quaternary materials, we can have different types of semiconductor light sources there. Thank you. So in indirect bandgap semiconductors, the maximum and minimum energies occur at different levels of the crystal momentum there. So here in this case we can say that this is your peak output power we are going to have at 810 nanometers, which is going to have the output power to be 1. And here at half power beam width, where the power is going to be half of it, it is going to have the value to be around full wave, that is your half power beam width is going to be around 36 nanometers. Full width, half maximum spectral width is going to be around this. So the recombination in these types of semiconductors is going to be quite slow. So because we are going to have the maximum and minimum energies are going to occur at different values of the crystal momentum there. So the fundamental quantum mechanical relationship that is going to exist between energy and frequency is E is equal to h mu, that is h into c by lambda, where lambda is equivalent to hc by E. Energy is going to be defined in joules and wavelength is going to be in meters. The gap energy gap is going to be in electron volts and wavelength is going to be in micrometers. So I can write lambda in micrometers is equivalent to 1.24 by Eg in electron volts. So the different materials and alloys have different band gap energies. So the band gap energy that can be controlled by two composition parameters are your X and Y with direct band gap region. So the quaternary alloy, that is your indium gallium arsenide phosphide, is the material, basic material which are going to be used in the LEDs there. So the two expressions that are relating your Eg, X and Y are Eg is equal to 1.424 plus 1.266x plus 0.02666 square. So the energy gap can be in terms of Y. If I am going to write, it is Eg is equal to 1.35 minus 0.72y plus 0.12y square. Thank you.